Hey Flosstube, I'm Michelle. This is my romantic tangle, and I'm going to upload this overnight, so by the time you see it, it'll be May 5th, 2021. It was a great week for stitching. I have got a new start. I am shifting to different projects, and I am having an absolute blast. Last time I told you about wanting to start a wedding sampler. Look, I started. I'm kind of proud of myself for actually telling you I was going to start something and then starting it before the next video. This is going to be Lovebirds. And I do not know who the designer is. Autumn Lane Stitchery. The February 2021 issue of Just Cross Stitch. I suppose it would help if I show you the cover. That way you'll know if you have it in your stash. And I am loving this. I just grabbed whatever fabric I had in my stash that would be a good contrast with the white, and I wound up with this blue 14 count Aida, which is, I believe, from the thrift store, probably most likely. It is absolutely stiff. If you saw the video where I talked about the Dollar Tree cross stitch kits and had the Aida that was like cardstock, this is too. But you know, once it is in the Q-snaps, you're not feeling the fabric a lot. So I am totally happy with that. The pattern has some backstitching that is in the same color as the background fabric. Obviously, since I'm not using pink, I'm going to have to find something close to the blue to substitute with, but I can do that. And I am using white Floss from this Artiste packet. I picked it up at Hobby Lobby a while back because I wanted to use the black for a different project and knew I'd use the white for something. It was right after I finished stitching House of Roses and decided how much I love single color white projects. This has got 36 skeins of fabric. This is floss. 36 skeins of floss. It was $5.99, and back then they had coupons. No, it is not the same quality as DMC, but it's dirt cheap, and I'm enjoying the process, and I am using 3 strands because I want a lot of contrast between that white stitching and that background. And I'm not too picky. I've mentioned that before. I have a whole list of what I'm working on, and I don't even know what I'm working on. Morning Lake. Look, there's a boat, or most of a boat. This is my current favorite project. I'm in love. And I kind of want a project hop, and I kind of want to keep stitching until I'm done, and somewhere in between those two extremes is going to be what I wind up doing. That's a Dimensions Gold Petite kit. And I'm still stitching on my ginormous waterfall. Loving this. I am being so good at not leaving any little orphan stitches as I work my way across the project. That's my lesson I have learned from lots of full coverage projects where I didn't worry too much about going back and figuring out what color that was going to be. I will totally admit some of these blues in the waterfall, I have needed one isolated stitch of something that looked an awful lot like the color next to it, and I'm substituting if that makes my life easier. I won't do a big series of stitches in the wrong color, but if it's only one color and it's water or a tree, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. And now that I have set aside first evening in their own home, and kind of a combination of being burnt out from working on that one and being excited about the weather, I am pulling out some of my whips. First one that jumped to my mind to pull out to start stitching is Beach Babies, because we've got sunshine. There's not going to be any beaching, but we have sunshine. This is where I left it off last time. I think my goal is going to be to try to get the little girl with the hat on. I thought she had a bucket on her head, but no, that's her hat, and I'm excited about working on this one. I've been wanting to, but then I was focused on the Riola Sal and not doing enough stitching that I could work on everything. And the other one that I really wanted to pick back up was Mad Bluebird. Where's my picture? shoot. Well, I've misplaced my picture, but it's a bluebird. He's on a fence post. He's angry. I got the kid at a thrift store for 50 cents and or something like that. And I just adore him. And then the other thing I decided that I'm going to pick back up after a long nap is Owl Forests. 100 Owl Sal. I did not get very far on this at all before I made a mistake on my owl because it's not gridded. And I was trying to figure out how to compensate for my mistake and still have the other pieces line up. And, you know, I just need to be a grown-up person about this. I hate frogging. I don't like frogging, but that is not enough to rip out when you consider how big this piece is going to be. My fabric is bigger than it needs to be, but it's going to be big. It's going to be ambitious. I have fabric that I love. It is a pattern that I love. I really need to just rip out that mistake and start over with a clean slate and get it right this time. I am going to do that. And did you see that Owl Forest Embroidery has a new Sal? And it's Alice in Wonderland. And I so want to start that. But I don't have a piece of colored fabric big enough. Can't find anywhere locally to buy one that is big enough because it's a 100-mile drive to my favorite LNS, and the way the world is right now, that's not going to happen. Plus the fact that I want to stitch it, I don't want to stitch it quite enough to buy a very expensive piece of fabric sight unseen. So I think I'm going to get some Brit and dig some of the thrifted Ada out of my stash and see if I can come up with a color that might work. I'm thinking that the 3-color version is what I want to try to do, but I haven't thought that far, and I'm going to rip out my owl first. And I got socks, or I have most of a sock. I am playing with some new yarn that I got at Hobby Lobby. It's Cotton Collage. Regular price is $4.99 a skein. I got it for 30% off, which means I get a pair of socks for $7. Not the cheapest sock yarn I've played with, but it's within my comfort zone, and I really like the feel of this stuff. They have 5 different colors. I wish, if you're going to sell sock yarn, please sell it in more than 5 colors, because solids, yes, you could knit a bunch of different pairs of socks out of the same solid color, but striping, not so much. I don't know if you need repeats. I did a video earlier this week about backstitching and really enjoyed the responses I got. I think a lot of us seem to appreciate the effect that backstitching has on the finished piece, and a lot of us seem to think of it as a necessary evil, and those two things those ideas can coexist quite well. I'm trying to get better about backstitching as I go, and one of the pieces I wanted to put in that video, but I could not find it because it's been missing for months, was a little girl's fancy. I got a lot of hours in this, guys, and I got a lot of backstitching done on this. But the backstitching is in a whole bunch of different colors. And it's got one of those patterns that's like, outline the little girl's bow in this color and the window in that color, and it's just, I find it overwhelming and hard to do. And I'm very afraid I'm going to stitch the wrong thing in the wrong color. And if you can see this, I think having all of those different colors instead of backstitching everything in black definitely does make a tremendous difference, and that it's worth it. So I think I'm going to pull this one out of timeout. And I think I'm going to use, part of me thinks this would be a great 25/7 project, or I get in 15 minutes a day, or 1 strand of floss a day, or something to just get moving on it. But also it is really fiddly, and I'm not sure how that's going to work in reality, because sometimes on things that have confetti or that are really fiddly, by the time 15 minutes is up, you have just gotten into the groove of where you need to be. So maybe at least 15 minutes or at least one strand. I'll let you know what I settle on, because I love this. And I knew it was somewhere. I had not given up hope. It had to be somewhere. Somebody asked me in a comment a few weeks ago if I had got my sewing room put back together after we evacuated for the wildfires last summer. Short answer to that is, oh, of course not. I went through, and the first sweep through the house, I pulled the things that I knew needed to go. And then the fire was moving slowly, and we just kind of kept making more sweeps of the house, and I wound up going through my stash and going through what I had, pulling the stuff that I felt was important or would be hard to replace, or that I wanted to give to somebody else if my house burned down. The logic was getting really not logical there at the end. And the fire did not reach our house. At its closest point, it was 6 miles, but they were talking about using the highway as a fire break if the worst happened. And of course, we're directly on the wrong side of the highway. So I have not gone through and got everything back the way it was before the fire, because there's a lot going on these days. I found this in the travel trailer, along with my DMC floss card, my sock needles, and some other stuff that was really important and gone without a trace, and I'm glad I found it. I'm going to be finding stuff for years that is tucked in with other stuff it has no business being with. I've almost got everything back from my mom's house because I don't get to see my mom anymore. There's lots of chaos, lots of trying to keep distance because 2019, what is this, 2021? So I got my birthday presents last week, even though my birthday was in March. Guys, look what I got. I am just smitten with this. She's a kitchen witch, and she has a space in the back to put a dish scrubby in. So she sits by the sink, or will sit by the sink. My mom, back in the 80s, used to do all kinds of craft fairs. She painted ceramics, and she poured them in the molds and did the whole decorative ceramic thing. And the kitchen witches or something, she made a lot of these. There was this one. I think there was a spoon holder. I think there was one that just was a flat decorative hanging thingy. And I had asked her quite a while ago, back when we were all getting excited about those ceramic Christmas trees with the plastic lights in them, if there was any chance she still had a kitchen witch. And she didn't. But she found in her stuff the one last kitchen witch she had not painted, and she painted this for me for my birthday. They were all green, the ones she did before, but I got a yellow one, and I love her. Now, if you are into ceramics, yeah, she's stained and not underglazed, but she was already, the inside is glazed. She had already been fired with the glazed inside, so I guess it was too late to do the underglaze and glaze her. I'm not planning on submerging her in water, so I'm not worried about it. And now I want to start looking at all the other thrift stores and see if there are more kitchen witches out in the wild, but I really love this one my mommy made me. She did not sign her work, which I think I'm going to take something and mark this, because she wasn't made in 1980 whatever. She was made in 2021. Well, I got to visit my mom because she's got a lot going on and I've got a lot going on, and our schedules never align. We went through my great-grandma's old sewing box, and it was a blast. And we filmed a video, and I have been looking forward to this because last October, when I was at the coast with my mom, maybe that was November, we stopped in an estate sale, and I found a sewing basket, and I was really tempted to buy it for a YouTube video because it had lots of old stuff in it. And I was on the fence because I didn't need it, and I loved the idea more than I loved the actual sewing box I was looking at. And my mom pointed out that she had my great-grandma's sewing box. Great grandma died in 1982, and I'm sure it had been years before then that she had last gotten into that sewing box. So we went through and it had so much stuff. And what I love about you guys here on Flosstube is I can post a video about my great grandma's sewing box, pulling through the things that are in it, hold up a thing that I think is a broken yellow crochet hook, and within minutes of my posting that video, someone will tell me, no, that's a vintage Tupperware citrus peeler. Now the great mystery is why great grandma had a citrus peeler in her sewing box. I found one suggestion online for using them to turn the corners of stuffed pillows and bags, so I'm curious why she had it in there. Also why she had a Tupperware citrus peeler. But, so I've got that video, I've got the backstitching video. It seems like there was something else, but I cannot remember off the top of my head what it was. It'll be there with the other videos if you care to go looking. Thanks for watching. I'm Michelle. This is my romantic tangle. I am going to go do some stitching before it's time to drive my son to work, and then I'm going to set this up so it can upload while I go to bed tonight. I'll be back with you with more videos soon. Let me know if you change projects to go with this nice weather. What are you working on?